Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. So today we are back again with some more Alliance War action. This is video about two Alliance Wars actually. It's against ISO8A War 10, which is quite short. That's why I didn't want to upload it individually, because if I don't take too many fights or they don't last too long, I don't really want to kind of blabber at the beginning and end of the video with no gameplay just to try and stretch it to 10 minutes or whatever. And I also don't want to upload like a 5-minute Alliance War video. Either way, each to their own, and in this case I have just combined two videos in one once again, because I didn't have too many fights against ISO8A, but I do have some boss action against Palo, so that's going to be quite interesting. So in this war against ISO8A, I brought in a rank 3 Doom, rank 3 Nick Fury, and Quake. So this is path 1, it's like the Arc Overlord going up against Sorcerer Supreme. She is a stubborn defender, so I do need to watch out in order not to trigger it if I want to do some serious damage. But overall, it's quite an easy, simple fight. There's nothing too much to worry about. Dropped my level 1, got to my level 3. Happy days, basically, in another combo. Very, very simple fight. Again, nothing too special here. I don't think I was even like boosting too much for these fights. Now I'm going to be up against Terrax and I'm going to be using Quake. Now this is going to be a slightly longer fight, so I will speed it up once I actually get in there. And Terrax is not a stubborn defender, therefore I can Quake freely any way I choose or see fit to do so. Only thing you have to do is kind of like, well, not wait out. You might possibly take some damage initially whilst he has some power, but after that obviously Quake isn't really hitting him. He cannot activate special attack, and he cannot activate his aura or what have you. Therefore, Quake is like pretty much a perfect counter for that. Now, he does have Masochism active, so if I do not happen to be charging heavy attack with Concussion active whilst Masochism would be set to trigger, then Masochism does shrug off the stun. That would come from Quake. If I do charge my heavy attack, his ability accuracy is reduced by 100% and I can stun him easily. I wasn't running suicides, so this fight kind of took a while in between that Masochism heal and Terrax being quite tanky. But aside from like eating that one combo, it was very simple, very straightforward fight. Now we are in section 2. Section 2, I'm in path 4, and I don't even really honestly remember what these lanes did have. I think if I have 3 debuffs, they go unblockable, but that's about it. And Dr. Doom against Silver Surfer, easy, very simple fight. Just wait a couple of level 1s, get to level 3, do your damage, nullify his buffs, and happy days. Right, a very, very simple fight. Now it is seemingly quite stacked, likely rank 3 Silver Surfer, but Silver Surfer is still a Silver Surfer, and he's not really the biggest threat in the world in vast majority of the situations. So here we can see that I get to my level 3 after a nice convenient slap in the face. Just need to wait out the level 3 animation where I'm gonna try and get to my Doom cycle, and everything should go quite easy and simple. So he's at 51% at this point. I'm gonna go for double medium, triple light, double medium combo into level 1. And now I kind of have a choice to make whether I want to drop level 2, but he would not take any damage from Incinerate, so I choose to build up to level 3 instead, get to stagger his power cosmic buff. That feeds my Mystic Dispersion, that pushes me to the 3 bars of power once again. And yeah, another level 3 with the double Fury active this time. He's at 8% and double medium. That's a nice 15k medium crit from Dr. Doom right there, and the fight is over. And now the last fight is going to be against this Void, and I'm going to bring in Nick Fury. Nick Fury is kind of pretty much perfect. Crumbling armor or whatever he else has, and Void's own debuffs. Obviously, whenever I do end up knocking down the opponent, shrug off all the debuffs. I will make some mistakes in this fight, but never at any given point I was like concerned, because I did have Nick's second life available. So even though I did make like a slip up, I really wasn't too worried, because I knew as soon as if I happened to destroy my life model decoy and real Nick Fury comes out, the fight would be over in sheer seconds with that crazy bleed damage plus class advantage plus everything else that Nick has going on for him in this fight. And yeah, so currently at this point, obviously the fight is well under control, nothing really to worry about. Another kind of cool thing is obviously you not only shrug off all of the debuffs you have placed on you whenever you knock down the opponent, but also Nyx level 1 has like bazillion hits, so you typically breach the threshold of 10 hits, and that automatically purifies the Void's debuffs as well, so he kind of has like a double I don't know, advantage in this fight, or call it as you will. Here you can see a couple more hits, Void goes down. That was it for that war. We won it relatively comfortably, so that was quite nice. And now we're going to move on to the next war, War 11 against Palo. And this time I am bringing in quite an odd team. And I'm bringing in She-Hulk, Mr. Fantastic, and Void. Now, the main focus of this team is going to be dealing with Thing Boss. And we're going to have full-on glorious final boss action. Finally, it's been a while since I actually got to deal with the final boss since I joined ASR, so a couple seasons already. So I was like super anxious to not really prove myself, but just kind of do well, because it's been a while since I've done it. Maybe slightly nervous because I might have forgotten how hard exactly Alliance War boss hits or whatever. But yeah, the main point definitely was just to do well and see whether I can do it with Void, because I also, in addition to all of that, not only I haven't taken Alliance War boss in a while, I have never taken Thing boss with Void, because I hadn't ranked up my Void up until like a month ago, or even less than that. So yeah, this is gonna be kind of like a double first, or even triple first. First time taking boss in ASR in a serious season war. First time using Void against Thing boss, because yeah, I haven't really played Void all that much, and very interesting for sure. So yeah, here we can see that the first fight here was on path 8 in section 1. That's She-Hulk against Hyperion. Every time he gains a buff, I gain a power, train, debuff thing, but that doesn't matter because She-Hulk just stacks those passive furies. Hyperion throws his special attacks left, right, and center. I build up my attack, and that fight was, well, in the bag. As soon as you build up a couple of furies, you really don't have too much to worry about. If he had gotten to level 3, I probably still would have survived the one level 3, so really I wasn't too kind of worried about that fight. And now this fight is one of those nodes that I really hate. It's kind of like hit count, strike counter, combat power rate. That's a really annoying node. Basically, you have X amount of hits of each type allocated to you. If that counter reaches 0, you start gaining kind of power suppression passives. There's no way to get rid of them, and eventually they will start reversing your power. So it's a very, I don't know, I just hate this node design. And typically for like 99% of the scenarios, you end up ignoring that node and just pretending that you don't have any power. Anyway, so here initially I'm going to be trying to kind of play around it, not to have too many of those power drain debuffs, power suppression debuffs active on me. As you can see that I'm really kind of trying to count my hits there. And at this point, as soon as I trigger and as soon as I start climbing back up, drop level 1, and the fight's quite much in control. Now, I'm using Mr. Fantastic here primarily just in order to gain slight advantage in the Thing's boss fight, because I thought this placement is incredibly simple. There's not much to worry about at all against Sorcerer Supreme, because the way he gains power and everything else about him, I was just not kind of like worried or bothered about this fight at all. And the main goal was just to gain more persistent charges for Mr. Fantastic. So when I go into the Thing's boss fight, I have all 3 of Mr. Fantastic's pre-fight abilities available to me. I realistically knew that I will not be able to maintain them for too long. However, that would still give me kind of like an initial damage boost or something. And I was very well interested in doing absolutely anything and everything I can to get out of that Thing boss fight as quickly as I can. And besides, hey, we saw some Mr. Fantastic in Alliance War, why not, right? And now we're going to deal with this Thor Ragnarok against strike counter, combat power rate, and power sting node. And this is, I feel, quite common placement. I have definitely seen it in quite many Alliance War videos. And it's kind of an annoying fight, but Void's going to be kind of perfect for it, because obviously once the fight actually gets going, then you have all of those petrified debuffs on the opponent, and you can literally ignore Thor Ragnarok's power gain. And yeah, so I think Void was a beautiful matchup here. I do trigger one of those power suppression debuffs on me, but I drop my level 1. Unfortunately, I do not have any petrified debuffs yet, so I do need to be careful. So I'm trying to slow play it, trying to kind of like be careful. Need to make sure that this time I shut off that power gain with a special attack, because seemingly, yeah, I cannot line petrify, which is kind of annoying with Void. But here I made like the biggest mistake, because I did in fact eat up that power sting damage, because I briefly forgot about that node. I had it in my mind at the beginning of the fight, and I was purposely waiting it out. But as soon as kind of like extra complications came into the fight and I needed to start thinking about my hit counter and everything else, I just briefly forgot about that power sting. And now at this point, I have just given up on that node, as most people often do. I don't have any power. I will not have any power. I don't need any power. Kabam can go and screw themselves with a crappy node design. But yeah, very simple. So minute and a half in, Thor Ragnarok is at like 12%. I triggered that power gain again, but this time he was actually losing power. He tries to drop his level 1, and he eats some power sting damage because Mr. Fantastic and She-Hulk's energy, which is another kind of like thing that I was relying on helping out my Void against Thing Boss. And now I'm going to be boosting big. Now, we did have sizable lead in this war. Basically, I could have lost all attack bonus at this point, and we would still win the war. But that kind of wasn't the point. The point was to A, test out how this is happening, B, well, obviously not to do poorly, and I really wanted to get it done, because as I said before, I hadn't taken a boss in a really long time. I hadn't used Void against Thing Boss, so I'm boosting to the brim to the max, like 200% power boost. This is definitely kind of wasted, but I don't really use any of them ever, because I don't really bring in many science champions typically to Alliance War, and if I do, I don't really use the power boost with them. And yeah, so I just put on all of the boosts. I'm gonna activate all of Mr. Fantastic's pre-fight abilities. As I mentioned, I realize it's likely going to be impossible for me to re-trigger them for entire fights, and I did expect them to fall off quite early on, but I also expected that to give me a decent kind of like damage boost initially. And we can see that when I start the fight out already, he's taking significant damage over time. And I also used Power Start 1 boost in order to kind of like have more aggressive start. I had plenty of them anyways, and we can see that so far, first 25 seconds, we already have taken up like 14-15% of his life. So he's certainly doing quite well. I cannot complain at all. Here I'm going to manage just in the nick of that time to refresh the Mr. Fantastic's debuffs once again. So I continue to deal an absolute ton of damage. Now, for a side remark, I knew this thing is a not max sig, but still we can see that I'm not really triggering that protection all that much either way. And the best thing, the thing that I was the happiest with myself in this fight, and it's something that many people might not notice initially watching the fight, or if you wouldn't listen to the commentary, but I actually do not trigger dexterity once, and I do not trigger stubborn once in this fight. And I think that's kind of like one of the key things in order to have this fight going smoothly. It's protection obviously is a big thing to worry about, but also all of the time when Void would not take any damage because of the stubborn indestructibility is like lost revenue, I don't know. And the fact that I managed to go the entire fight without triggering stubborn indestructibility, I think played in a very key factor in the fact that this fight is going so smoothly. You can see that less than 2 minutes in, he's at like 20-something%. He's going down rapidly. I always have plenty of debuffs on. He's eating power stings left and right. I do have Resonate Mastery, so that's definitely helping out as well, which I activated like specifically for this fight. And overall, yeah, I'm certainly happy with the way this fight has gone and the way it is going. And we can see that that is it. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's war video. We did win this war. And if you liked it, hit that like button, hit that sub button, hit all the buttons. And yeah, share with your friends. Fun war boss fight. And see you guys.